Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Naim Hafizi bin Zulkifli, and I'm from TSL327328. And in this video, I will present to you the task one of the coursework of TSLB3273 English Language Awareness. This is the content of my video. The first one, I will tell you the definition and the meaning of context, and then I will tell you what is situational context. And then the second one, I will tell you what is cultural context. And lastly, what is interpersonal context. And at the end of my video, I will conclude what is context itself. I will give a conclusion about context. What is context? Context refers to the circumstances or the environment surrounding a particular event or an act of communication. Context can be used to clarify the meaning of the words that are used, the action that are taken, and the environment they are in. It also provides us the information regarding the settings, regarding the culture and the participants involved, influencing how the language is interpreted and used. And then there are four major points in the context, which is the first one is the settings, the physical environment, the time of the environment, and then participants, the individuals that are involved or present in the settings, and then the third one is the topic, the subject that are discussed by the participants in the settings, and then the purpose. The last one is the purpose, which is the reason of the communication, the reason for the topic to be discussed by the participants in the settings. The first one, we go to the situational context. Situational context is an immediate circumstances regarding or surrounding an act of communication. It includes the physical settings, the time, the participants involved, that influencing how they speak, how they use the language, and how they interpreted it. And based on the picture, we can see that the people in the meeting are communicating with each other using formal language to discuss about the agenda of the meeting, and they also address their colleagues respectfully. So based on the four points of context, which is the settings, the participants, the topic, and the purpose. Okay, so for the settings, we can see that the physical settings of the in the picture is the is a meeting room, a boardroom, a meeting room, and the meeting take place in the afternoon or in the morning. So next, the participants. The participants, maybe this is a meeting between a workers and a workers, or a meeting between a client and a worker, or a meeting between the boss and his co-workers. And then the topics are in the meeting maybe about financial discussion, new project or innovation discussion, or maybe to address some problems in the company. And next, the last one is the purpose. The purpose of the meeting might be about decision making, brainstorming, the to know the updates of some progress or project, and also for problem solving. Some of the meeting also often leads to a specific business goals. We also need to take some important factors such as the importance of the meeting, the relationships between the members of the meeting, and how the communication styles of each of the core members of the meeting to see how they use the language and how they interpreted it. The second one, which is the cultural context. Cultural context is the shared beliefs, customs, and traditions in a society. It influences the language used in a society, which is the grammar, the vocabulary, and the communication styles. So, in this cultural context, I use the culture of Malay, which is the Hari Raya Aidilfitri. Hari Raya Aidilfitri, which marks the end of Ramadan, the Islamic holy month of fasting. And then, based on the four major points of context, which is the settings, the participants, the topic, and then the purpose. So, the the settings of Hari Raya Aidilfitri is the house of a host. They are decorated with beautiful lights, with beautiful lanterns, new furniture, new carpet, new curtains, and the host of the house the invites their guests, which is the family members, relatives, the neighbors, and their friends to the host open house. So next, the participants. The participants usually the relatives, the family members, the which is the grandparents, the uncles, the aunts, the cousins, and then the neighbors surrounding the house, and then the friends. And then the topic. The topic discussed in Hari Raya usually about the food, the attire, the house, or to update about their life to their family members that they have not seen for a long time. And the purpose of Hari Raya Aidilfitri is to express their their gratitude to God for giving them the strength to complete a month of fasting. And then is to seek the forgiveness from family members, from relatives, from neighbors, and from friends. And also, the purpose of Hari Aidilfitri is to strengthen the relationship between family members, relatives, neighbors, and friends. And the taboo in Hari Aidilfitri is not to open duit raya sampul in front of the giver. This is because it could offend the giver, because maybe the if we open the duit raya sampul in front of the giver, when the duit raya is not the amount of the duit raya is not what we expected, and we express the disappointment in our face, it could offend the giver of the duit raya. The last one is the interpersonal context. Interpersonal context refers to the relationships between the participants or the individuals in the communication act. It includes the factors like power dynamics, familiarity, and social distance, which gives direct impact to the language choice and interpretation. And then there are two types of situations in the interpersonal context, which is the formal situations and informal situations. Formal situation refers to the formal situations use formal language between individuals with unequal power, such as students and teacher. And informal situation use informal language between between individuals that have equal power or status, which is between friends or family members. And then, based on the picture, it is a communication act between a worker and his boss. And then we know that the boss and his worker have different power and status. So the worker need to use formal language when talking when communicating with his boss. He also need to avoid raising his voice, and also need to speak respectfully and address his boss correctly. And so based on the four major points of context, the settings is in a boss office room in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the evening. And then the participants is the worker and his boss. And then the topic maybe regarding about the uh, worker promotion, maybe about new project discussion, maybe about the worker want to address some problems that he has. And the purpose. So the purpose of the communication app maybe about how the worker want to discuss with his boss on how to solve some problem. And then the worker, maybe the boss want to raise his salary or promote him based on the new project he proposed. So to conclude my video, uh, we need to learn and understand the different styles of context, the different types of context for an effective communication because it helps us to interpret meaning, to adjust our language, and to build relationships. So for situational context, it helps us to understand the immediate context of communication of an utterance. And then for cultural context, it helps us to navigate the cultural difference and it helps us to navigate the cultural difference and avoid misunderstanding between in the culture. And then for the interpersonal, it allows us to tailor our communication style based two different relationships. It helps us to adapt our communication styles to the person we communicate to. And that's all from me. Thanks for listening.